Hello, good morning. Welcome to the GroupM Rooftop. I'm Nick Palmer from EssenceMediacom and I'm joined by Jamie. Jamie, do you want to do a quick intro?
Hi everyone, I'm Jamie Cutburth. I'm the Executive Vice President of Creative Partnerships at NBCUniversal.
Fantastic. And we're here to talk about the new entertainment economy. And what that is basically just an interesting way of describing the big shift that has happened in entertainment over the past 10 or 15 years. And Jamie, when we were speaking earlier, I realised that you'd been at NBCUniversal since 2011, which wasn't quite as long as I'd been at EssenceMediacom,
Right.
but should put you in a position to be able to have a really good point of view on the shifts we've seen in entertainment over the last 10 to 15 years. So I thought I'd start there and talking to you about, the shifts that you've observed.
Right. So I think that, first of all, thank you for having me and thank you for doing this. This is incredible. This is a really incredible conversation for us to be having right now at this point in time. And, we've talked about this diversification and democratization of entertainment and how, there's so many different places that people can consume media, but that's an evolution that's been happening for a very long time, right? We're about to celebrate our 100th anniversary as NBC next year.
Wow.
So, we've seen evolution from radio to television to, cable to a broader swipe of cable properties, right? So people have continuously adapted to change. And that's what we've continued to see over the past, 10, 12 years. But instead of different options of content channels, we're now doing different content platforms and the way people are consuming media differently, right?
Incredible. And so, we sort of look at that change, and there's been some research out recently talking about the polarization of content and how actually more people are clustering and congregating around the big hits, but then more people are diving into more atomized and niche and specific content and communities and fandoms. And I know that communities and fandoms is something that you guys are really big on.
Absolutely.
So could you talk to that for a moment?
Sure. So on that end of spectrum with fandom, right? Yeah. And that's what we continue to super serve. And what we have continued to look at is not about what do we want to tell our audiences or what do we want to show them, it's what do they want to hear and what do they want to spend more time doing. Yeah. Our time is all valuable. The moments we get to spend having a down moment are really important. So we have to really be great at making that time count for people. Yeah. So, I'll look at something that we've created and is BravoCon, right? Okay. So Bravo is a huge passion point for our audiences. When you meet a Bravo fan, you just know it. They can talk to you about 8 different housewife cities. They can talk to you about 6 different below deck properties. And so
it's probably worth pausing actually and telling some of the probably more European audience exactly what Bravo is, because first time I heard about Bravo and BravoCon, it didn't immediately translate. You've named some properties there that I'm sure people are familiar with.
So Bravo is the brand that created a lot of incredible franchises, including The Real Housewives of Everywhere. Below Deck. We are now in our 8th iteration of Below Deck.
Wow.
Because, again, fans are so incredibly connected to these stories and, these spaces. So we as a brand at Bravo said, we have all these incredible fans who are so passionate about this content and programming. How do we continue to pull them all together, right? And so we've done that in a couple of different ways, whether it's through the programming or it's through the fact that we were able to take all of the content that we had on Bravo and now run it next day on Peacock, our streaming platform. Okay, and one of the best ways we've done that is by the creation of a program we did this year called BravoCon, which is our version of a fan programmed event that brought 30,000 fans together. The tickets sold out in under a minute.
Crazy.
If that doesn't tell you about fandom, we don't know what does.
Absolutely.
So the fans all came together in Las Vegas, 30,000 of them, but we realized that there's fans all around the world, and so we wanted to figure out how do we program for that. So we created additional programming on Peacock. We were able to stream a lot of our panels. We created live look-ins for the audiences in the linear space who were able then to consume it. So we took an event of 30,000 incredible fans in one space and then programmed it for everyone around the world.
That's amazing.
So, but you don't get to do that without fandom. You don't get to do that without the passion from the audiences and what they're looking to experience. And that's a type of thing that we do across the board. So we look at fandoms in Bravo or in sports or in news and any of our live programming.
Yeah, and I guess, the idea of fandoms and communities isn't new. I think the interesting thing now is we're able to really identify them and be able to talk directly to them in a way that we've never ever been able to do before.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. The other thing one of the other things that's really been interesting me is the sort of evolution of programming and taking risks or not taking risks on programming. And one of the things that I've observed, and we were talking about this previously, is just how many shows are in their 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 20th season.
Yep.
And so is this something that you think is representative of consumer behaviour? Is there opportunity for, new forms of IP to come out these days, or actually are we just backing the winners?
I think that we're super serving the audiences. We're looking at where and how do they want to be entertained, right? We look at The Voice on NBC, right? Our massive singing competition that is in its 23rd season. Now, the reason it's in its 23rd season is because it's a format that people enjoy and are still engaged with. It still gives people that moment to lean in, to root for somebody, to be part of a community, to have an effect of the change, right?
Yep.
So it delivers on all of those audience behaviors and all of those key insights that we know about audiences that they want. So we're super serving what they're looking for.
Sure.
And telling a great story. So our work is, from a programming standpoint, is dual. One is, how do we continue to evolve these stories?
That was going to be my question.
Right? Yeah. How do we evolve these stories and change them and make them different? We look at Top Chef, right? The #1 cooking show in everywhere. It's incredible. Yeah. Having worked on it now for 12 seasons, right? And it's in its 23rd season. Our question is, how do we continue to keep it compelling and interesting and different? And the first thing we do is we move cities every year. So we were in London this past season, we were in Wisconsin. And so we can tell completely different stories about being in London versus the Midwest of the United States. But we also look at the platforms that people are on and how do we tell the story both for the consumers as well as the advertisers differently. Top Chef, many years ago, we created a program called Last Chance Kitchen.
Okay.
Right? So Last Chance Kitchen. So in the show of Top Chef, a chef gets voted off each week. We created a digital competition where in a digital series, chefs went into a digital competition to get a chance to go back into the linear show.
Amazing.
Right? So people, no matter where they're watching, and we're able to engage with a different audience, we now are able to port all of that content onto Peacock, which is really important for us because when you look at the Bravo and Peacock audience, in totality is it's over 100 million with less than 7% duplication.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you've now got a massive opportunity for us using tried and true stories as a place to bring a new audience in, but also tell them new stories and also engage with advertising platforms in a different way.
Sure.
And that's been the incredible part about Peacock.
I mean, that's incredible. And you talk about super servicing the audiences, right? And the idea that you have a format and you're now able to create a spin-off format that exists somewhere else. It sort of plays to this evolution, I guess, of not just entertainment no longer being linear, but the thirst that these audiences have for the content that they're really into. And I guess that's kind of the thought behind this idea of the polarization of entertainment, whereby some things are big cultural hits, but the other things audiences just want to be super served on all the time. It's fascinating. So that then begs the question: what is the role for brands in this new entertainment environment, in this evolved entertainment environment? How, and I guess this is the core of your role, isn't it? How do brands integrate seamlessly and authentically into entertainment?
I think it is super. We sit down with brands all the time and have conversations about where do you want to be? What's the story you want to tell? How do we achieve your objectives, right? And the incredible part about being at NBCUniversal is we have such a massive portfolio of content. It's one of our biggest investments that we have at the company. So we have a lot of places to play, right? So whether we're looking at, first of all, do you want to tell a long tail storyline? Do you want to be part of a show and we're going to do a program together for 13 weeks? We look at our sports space. Maybe the story we want to tell is reaching 20 million people on a Sunday night. We'll go to Sunday Night Football, right? So we first start with the places, and then we are, and at the same time, looking at the stories that we want to tell with the brands in tow. And the great part about where we are with our data tech stack, with our streaming platforms, is that not just can we tell you the right places to be in order to reach that audience, but we can also prove it out on the back end to be able to show you there was efficacy here.
Yeah, fantastic. And what about brands in more of the live and events-based space? Because you spoke about BravoCon, right? You spoke about these passionate fandoms. How are brands integrating with these passionate fandoms? Because on the one hand, really exciting audiences. On the other hand, I assume the bar is quite high for what they expect.
Absolutely. Well, I'll look at authenticity is key.
Sure.
I'm sure that's a drinking game word of the week. But authenticity is super important, and especially when we look at BravoCon, we look at the storylines of the shows and look at how we can extend them into the experiential space. And we'll do that with brand partners like State Farm or Lay's, where we brought together the summer house that's in one of our shows and brought to you by State Farm, and brought in Jake from State Farm as part of that experience. So we took the fan and what they're watching at home and turn it into an elevated space. So BravoCon is one way that we've done that. I also look at, red carpets. When red carpet started out, it was just a linear broadcast of what was happening. We then looked at how fans were consuming media consuming the experience across social media, the digital spaces. So we now program separate streams for our digital and linear programming. So brands can then get involved in different ways.
That's incredible. And look, I guess the advantage of having so much IP that is long running is it's not really a risk for brands, right? When a show's been out for 20 seasons, 25 seasons, it's not like you're taking a risk on that show or embedding yourself in that show, because you know that the audience is there and you know how to activate it. You know how to activate it.
Right.
Fantastic. Well, look, I think we've covered a great deal of what we wanted to cover today. We've spoken about, the polarization of entertainment. We've spoken about super serving fans, and we've spoken about how brands can authentically, incredibly get involved with these communities. So, Jamie, all I want to say now is thank you very much, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week at Cannes.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Perfect.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.